right, so if we want to look at the rules, so especially it works the same way as whether we're on a cast diagram or whether we're on the actual graphs. It's the same thing. So just a reminder of what we did yesterday. If this is the angle, how do we talk about this one? What is, yep, 180 minus the angle. What's this one? 180 plus the angle, and this one, 360 minus the angle. Okay, so these are all the equivalent angles, but then we just have to choose the right ones, whether they're positive or negative. So you will always have one other angle you can choose, and you may have multiple, right? So, sorry, it depends. If you have to go over 360, you might have more than two, but otherwise you're just going to have two if it's within this space. So if I say I want sine of my angle and I want an equivalent one, which only other quadrant am I allowed to be in? Right, this one here, right? So this is going to be sine, whoops, 180 minus the angle, right? So these two are my equivalent angles. If I say cosine of that, what's my equivalent angle? Good, 360 minus, because I'm only allowed to be in this other quadrant this time, because that's where cosine is positive. So you are going to just use these rules. Now, one of the ways that we can do this is talk about trig identities without actual numbers. We can just use letters and simplify things based on these rules. So if I said, so first of all, I'm just going to say, if you've got sine x, obviously that's the same thing as sine x. But if I said sine of negative x, another way of writing this is negative sine x. And actually that is the final way that you should write that in an answer. So if this is your answer, it's kind of incomplete. You should rewrite it with the negative out the front. So if you have things like, it's going to be really helpful if I've got this graph. Okay, I'm just going to quickly draw a little wave. Shut up. Yeah, that's not so bad. Okay, so this is what? How many degrees? 180. What's this one? 90. What's this one? 360. And this one? 270. Okay, now we need to know that this is 1. This is obviously 0. And this is -1, because this is going to be really interesting. So if I tell you that I want sine of 180 minus x, all right, now I want to rewrite this in terms of sine x, so I need to get rid of my letters. So what I'm actually looking for is an equivalent value. If I said sine 180 minus x, how does that, based on our rules, think about what's going on here? I'm talking about this one here, aren't I? 180 minus x. Where is my equivalent value? It's the original one, isn't it? So this actually equals sine x, right? Because these are the same value. What if I said cosine of, let's say, 360 minus x? I am talking about this one. Which other quadrant am I allowed to be in? A, right? So what is that going to equal? Cosine of x. Let's try one. Okay, let's say I'm going to do sine 180 plus x. That is here. It's negative. So which other quadrant am I allowed to be in? This one, right? This is my other allowable quadrant. So how would I write that? Okay, so that is absolutely something I can do, but I've still got numbers involved here. How could I write this in terms of sine x? It's negative, isn't it? Right? Because this is the same size as this, but it has to have the sign flipped. So I have to call this negative sine x. Do you see what I'm doing? So we're just finding which one matches. Is it the right sign? Is it not the right sign? How do I rewrite it in terms of sine x? They're all exactly the same. The only difference with tan is obviously, I mean, you can still use this for all 4 of them, but the tan graph, if you're using the graph, it obviously looks quite different. Okay, The questions where it's going to get a little bit tricky is when the domain is more than 360. But all you need to do is think about, okay, I'm just going to ignore the fact that I'm going more than either 2 pi or 360. Try and reverse it. So if you're being told that you're at 3 pi, where are you really at if you want to go back to the first cycle? Right, so you're at 180 or pi, right? So it's either 180 degrees or pi, because 2 pi is a full circle. So if I want to get back to my first circle, I just subtract 2 pi. So I should actually be at pi or 180 if you want to think in degrees. What's going to be really important on your calculators today? Right, make sure you know which mode you're in. You don't need to pick one because the questions are going to be different. So just like normal, make sure your calculator is in the right mode. All right, this is going to be a bit tricky because it's stuff that's quite new to us and it's going to feel a bit weird until we try it. But I'm going to save this. All right, let's have a go at exercise 5.2.